Hello BookTube and all Repairman Jack fans. My name is Nathan. Thank you so much for watching and welcome to my channel. So I am on book number 5 in the Repairman Jack series. So if you're not familiar with this, what I'm doing is I am reading every single Repairman Jack book and the Adversary Cycle, and including the Jack the Early Years and the young adult books. So I'm reading all of that, and I'm going to be reading one book a week, and I'm posting 2 different videos each week. So I post a short spoiler-free review video on Fridays, and then the following Thursday I post a longer discussion video. Like I say, this is book number 5, which is Hosts. So book number 4 is All the Rage, and then you get into Hosts, and then after that it is Gateways. So Gateways is where Jack goes down to visit his father in Florida, and the reason, in part, the reason why I bring it up, it's not just that Gateways follows Hosts, but it's significant because it's a nice little segue that the author F. Paul Wilson is doing in this, because in Hosts, Jack is introduced to his sister for the first time in quite a while. So he hasn't seen her in something like 15 years, really since he's become Repairman Jack. And so you don't really get any interactions between Jack and his family until Host. There's a couple little instances where he has conversations with his dad, and he goes and plays tennis with his dad one day. I think that's in The Tomb. Then that comes up, or maybe it's Legacies, but it's fairly early. And then otherwise, then you don't really get any interactions between Jack and his family, but you do start getting that in Hosts, which is fun. And like I say, it segues well into Gateways, where he goes and spends all of this time with his dad. So I'm going to read the back cover copy of Host, and then I'll give a few thoughts on it. Host starts with a bang when Jack has to stop a psychotic shooting rampage on a subway car, but there are witnesses, and Jack's essential anonymity is threatened. A good deal more is threatened when the lover of Jack's sister, Kate, survives a brain tumor thanks to an experimental treatment, only to join a strange cult called the Unity. Now Jack must face a new kind of enemy, a virally based group mind that wants to take over him and the world. So there's a couple different things going on in Hosts. It's a really fun book, and part of what makes it fun, it's similar to what you get with All the Rage, where you've got multiple plot lines going on all at once. And so you've got a fairly wide group of characters who have all got different motivations, and Wilson is just really skillfully moving from one character to another. Each chapter really makes sense and who he's following along for that particular bit of time. And so, you've got this, and this is not really spoiling anything, but basically Jack, he's on the train, you get this shooting, he stops the shooting, and then you have a journalist from a tabloid magazine who witnesses this happen. And the journalist, he's young, and he's thinking, well, this could be my big break if I could turn this into a much bigger story by exposing who this person is that they're calling the savior. So he is trying to track down Jack, and Jack is feeling like, oh no, my entire identity could get exposed here. And of course, because of how Jack has chosen to live his life, really beneath officialdom in general, then this is of course a terrifying thought for him. So you have all of that going on, but separately, you've also got Jack interacting with his sister, where he hasn't seen her in this long time. He's learning about her and then trying to help her out with these issues that she's having with her girlfriend, Jeanette. And then you get the whole thing with the cult that's going on. And so you have all of these different things that are happening simultaneously. So there's a fair bit there. It is one of the longer ones, so it's about 500 pages, just like All the Rage is approximately 500 pages, which is, somewhere around 15 to 20% longer than the other ones, which clock in just over 400 pages. And I think in part that's because you're getting multiple perspectives from a bunch of different people who've all got a lot going on, with different motivations and what they're trying to achieve. And so just when you add in more characters, the book is going to expand. But it's a really good example of a thriller where you have multiple characters and you're kind of following all of them along, and you've got a pretty good view of what's happening. But then every time you dip into a chapter with one particular character, they don't know what's happening in all these other places. So Jack doesn't know what's going on with the journalist who's trying to track him down. He doesn't really know what's going on with members of the cult. So it gives you, the reader, this dramatic irony, right, where you are aware of more things than the characters that we're watching, which is really what you get in a suspense novel or in a suspense film, right? That's dramatic irony. We know more than the characters in that, so that's where it's really coming from. So I will have much more to say about this book, and I am thinking about maybe doing a separate video. I've been thinking about doing this for a while on the A.E. Van Vogt novel. I thought it was just a short story, but apparently it was 3 short stories and then also a novel called The Weapon Shop. I think it's The Weapon Shop of Isher, or The Isher Weapon Shop, something along those lines. I've read one of the variations of this, which is a short story called The Weapon Shop. These are all from the 1940s, 1950s. Maybe the book came out in the early 1960s. But in any case, it really is relevant with hosts because of the way this book starts. And it really gets into, and it's not really the Second Amendment, although there is that element to it, but just the idea of having an armed populace and the ethics behind that, and what happens to a society if you have more people who have weapons rather than fewer people who have weapons. And so in part because of that, and because Abe's Weapon Shop, if you are not aware, Isher Sports Shop, like the legitimate business, the Isher Sports Shop, that's named after the Van Vogt novel or short stories or all of the above. And Wilson says so directly at the beginning of The Tomb, I believe, is where he brings it up. And he's saying, hey, it's a reference to that. And then also when you go down into the actual weapon shop, the basement of Abe's business, then it says he's got the sign, which is a quote from the short story and then the novel, where it says, the right to buy weapons is the right to be free. Something along those lines. I forget exactly what it is. So I'm thinking that I might even do that for 1 week of the reading series to impart, instead of doing a Jack book during one of these weeks, then I might get into that. So you can comment below on what you think about that. Essentially, it's going to happen. I just don't know when I'm going to put it into the series. But I'm thinking with hosts, especially because it really does focus in on that might be a good idea to do it then. All right, so like I say, I will have longer thoughts on hosts, and I will post that next Thursday. And then beyond that, I very likely am going to do a separate video on those Van Vogt stories that I was telling you about. It depends on how quickly I can actually get those, because I've only got the one short story, but I don't have the novel. So I'm looking into that right now. All right, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.